Well, next in the league, it's the trip to Brentford with a need to pick up some points sooner rather than later. I'm pleased to say that Billy Taylor is a Brentford fan and joins us to have a little look ahead to the weekend. Billy, thanks for joining us. Where are you? So where are you now? Because it looks slightly better than where we are.
Yeah, hi gents. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm currently joining you from the southwestern city in Poland of Wrocław on a little holiday for the weekend, and I'm in some sort of national park. I've done a bit of swimming in a lake. Lovely. I'm sure you've had I've not had many guests join you in a weirder location than this.
No, it's always spare bedrooms or offices.
Yeah.
I must say as well, we're recording this before the Liverpool game, so we haven't got too much to go on, Billy. But what have you made to the start of the season so far? And you got that first win.
Yeah, 100%. Brentford fans sort of went into the season a bit worried. There wasn't much transfer activity, and to be honest, our recruitment since we've been in the Premier League has probably dropped off from the really high standards we set in the Championship. So there was a bit of a worry, a few gaps in the squad to plug. But the first game against Crystal Palace, I think, surprised a lot of us. We played in a very Brentford way of we do like to hit teams on the counter attack. Our front three, no matter who's been in it, has always been a threat against any opposition in the Premier League. We're thinking Brian and Buemo, Johan Wissett and Kevin Schade just had this unbelievable pace. And to be honest, the game kind of went that way. Crystal Palace tend to pin you back under Oliver Glasner. They had a lot of the ball. Aberi Eze looked his usual self, was amazing, but we looked the more threatening team when we got the ball. And I think that's what we like to see. To be honest, Brentford fans don't expect us to dominate teams in the Premier League. When we do get it, we're a threat. And I think there was obviously some issues with the performance, but overall, Brentford fans are very happy actually after the first win, and I think surprised to be as happy as we are at the moment.
And you got Sepp van der Berg coming in from Liverpool. Good addition, do you think?
Yeah, very good addition. The defence is a place where we've had a lot of issues with depth since we've been in the Premier League. Since Pontus Jansson, who was our club captain, who brought us up a few years ago, left, we've never really added to defence how we should, I think. And Sepp van der Berg seems like a great player. I knew we were after him last summer before he joined Mainz. There was interest there then. And to be honest, he looks like the perfect fit for Brentford. We're quite a flexible team in terms of our system. We like to change from a 4 to a 3. And Sepp van der Berg seems like a perfect player to suit that. As well as that, we've brought in Nathan Collins last summer, who seems a great young defender. But other than that, we've relied heavily on Ethan Pinnock, who is only getting older. He's a great defender, but I think Sepp van den Berg, by his stature, he's 6'4", a big player, can play on the left side of the fence. Seems like the future Pinnock replacement. So Brentford fans are very happy with that signing, yeah.
I think we're still early enough to be able to talk about expectations for the season. I know you had a lot of injuries last year. I guess you're hoping to sort of press on this year. What's a good season for Brentford?
To be honest, any season staying in the Premier League is a good season for Brentford. We don't want to get ahead of
ourselves. Same with us.
Yeah. But we don't want to get ahead. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Brentford fans probably, they would tell you at the start of the season that anything that's staying up, they'd be happy with. But I'm sure as things go on with the ambitions rise and when you want to do better, obviously. I would say a good season would just be in and around mid-table, just trying not to get sucked into that relegation battle as we did last year. I think last year was the first time where Brentford fans were genuinely worried we may go down, especially when we had all of those injuries in around Christmas time before Ivan Toney came back from his ban. It really did not look great for us. But to be honest, Brentford fans are also quietly confident. We know from that season we had a couple of years ago that it just takes a few good results and getting some momentum when you're the mid-table Premier League side, then you can be dreaming of Europe. It didn't quite happen for us that year, but we were very close to dipping Aston Villa to the Europa Conference League. So I'd say a good season it really is staying up for us, that with a club with the budget of us. But I think Brentford fans are always dreaming of Europe, a little dabble in Europe. I wouldn't say it's not a success if we don't make it, but I think that's kind of the expectation. I reckon about mid-table, to be honest.
That's the dream. I mean, you mentioned Ivan Toney. I've got to ask what are your thoughts at the moment. Do you think you'll still be seeing him after Friday? What's the latest at the moment?
In all honesty, I think we will be seeing him after Friday. Obviously, things can change very quickly in transfer market, especially towards the end of it when people panic. And maybe someone will come in and pay up the money. I expect to see him, but I think I am with most Brentford fans. I don't really want to see him anymore. We are kind of. Yeah, and a lot of people won't believe you when you say that when you've got a player like Ivan Toney on your hands. But we are sick of the saga now. It's gone on for such a long time. The football club, you've got to feel sorry for the football club in terms of if he hadn't got that ban, we would have sold him for about 100 million in that transfer window. And now they're sort of in this weird middle ground where they obviously don't want to lose him on a free, but it's like a strange where like they can't be selling Ivan Toney for 30 million pounds. They want to stick to that 50 million valuation. So they're in a bit of a hard place right now. I think what will happen is he'll either stay or we may get someone come in with maybe like 35, 40 million right at the last day and we'll go, yeah, we can't afford to let someone like Ivan Toney leave on a free. But if I was to get on the front right now, I would say he's going to stay because it just doesn't look like anyone wants to move that valuation and everything. But yeah, sorry, yeah, honest, Brentford fans are sick of him. Very good footballer, but we have shown we can cope without him easily. We have Thomas Frank is an amazing manager at getting people to play in different positions and suiting it. And we signed Igor Thiago, who's a Brazilian forward from Bruges, scored lots of goals for Bruges. Unfortunately, got injured in pre-season because of course he did. But he'll be back in January, and I think Johan Wissa can do the job until then. So, to be honest, I would happily see him go, and then the saga's over, and you don't have to worry about him anymore.
It's a strange situation, isn't it, Glenn? But one that we can kind of sympathise with, and we found ourselves in many times over the years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in this scenario, the player becomes the story rather than the club, and you never want that. And I totally agree with what Billy's saying. It just becomes tiring. And you just want it sorted one way or another, either sign the new contract or go. I mean, we had this to a degree last year with Che Adams, who's about a quarter of the player that Ivan Toney is. And I just thought, why are we wasting so much energy thinking about whether we keep this striker who's not good enough for the Premier League or not? And historically, we had it a long time ago, back in the days when we were, when we had a lot of players that were desired by the big clubs. But I mean, I look at Ivan Toney and I sort of wonder what club in this country needs him. The market seems to have struggled. I don't really see him at Arsenal. That they're always talking about a centre forward, but is he the sort of player they're going to sign? I don't really think so. So I don't see where Ivan Toney goes. And I agree with Billy's assessment that they'll probably keep him this window. They may decide to take 25, 30 million in January. And maybe the panic offer would go in. I mean, I hope for the players' sake. I mean, they've been talking about him going to Saudi Arabia. That would be a colossal waste for a player of his sort of age and ability. So I hope
just to break into the England team and then sack it off is stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Mind you, Jordan Henderson still managed to get picked for England when he was in Saudi for a little bit anyway. So maybe that's.
Go on.
Yeah,
I've got one final question for Billy. Maybe not a final question, but what I want to know is why Brentford's so good at playing Southampton at home, because we've been there twice, obviously, in the last couple of years. I think both of them have really been the death knell for two managers, if we're being honest. I mean, Ralph Hasenhuttl, it was the first time where we heard Saints fans vocally sort of chanting against him. They got beat 3-0, obviously. And then, I mean, the sort of self-combustion that I witnessed of Nathan Jones in front of me after the 3-0 in the next season was quite remarkable. So what is it about Brentford that you've got Southampton's number?
I'm not too sure, Alfie, but I'll be honest, if I could put it down to something, I mean, I've been to the trips to St Mary's as well, and they've not all gone amazingly. I remember that 4-1 in the Premier League, and that was a low point, I think, in the Premier League. But to be honest, I think it's that Brentford's, when you go to Brentford, we play in a way that teams don't like. We are on top of you, balls into the box, and just like a very physical side, running at you pace. And to be honest, the last few Saints sides, I feel like that's their undoing, isn't it? Like it feels like, to me, looking as an outsider, Saints teams in the past have had a bit of a weak underbelly, so it doesn't particularly surprise me. I think those are the teams we often get at.
Yeah, we were like that 2 years ago. We were like that against anybody, so you weren't special. But no, it was particular. I mean, we owe you. We owe you a debt of thanks for making Nathan Jones crack up, and we got a lot of comedy out of that, and we got rid of him. So only good things to say about our trips to Brentford. But
it's not it's not quite make or break, is it, Martin, for the manager yet? But the pressure will be on if we don't get anything, if we don't get a goal at least out of this. But what have you made of Brentford, and what are your thoughts ahead of this one?
I think it's a really tough place to go. Traditionally, we've not done great there. The Ivan Toney situation fascinates me a bit. Billy, I want to ask you a question actually about Ivan Toney. I wonder what his attitude's like actually. A lot of people talk about it outside. We're not inside Brentford, so we don't know. But a lot of people talk about his attitude. But we'd have to go there and try and find something pretty special to beat you, I think.
Yeah, that's right, Martin. I think that it is a very tough place to go. On Ivan Toney's attitude, I don't think that he means to put down Brentford with all of the comments he's come out with. I don't think that is what he means. He is a very arrogant player, but in a good way. He will bring things on himself. He has dragged us out of some very bad places before, and he just believes in his ability. And the issue is he believes in it so much that he then puts down the club, and I just don't think he's been advised very well to things like interviews and stuff like that. I really don't think he does hate Brentford, but you can't have a player like when you only give someone so many chances, don't you? And he has continuously came out and just made the club look silly, and I think that's just another part of why Brentford fans are just happy to see him go. To be honest, amazing footballer. We'll never lie about that. Brentford fans are always happy. Like, he deserves the move as well. Like, we're not silly about that, but he's brought the club into this way a few times, and it's just a looming over the club. We're just like him to go. But Brentford is definitely a very hard place to go, and I think it will be for the Saints next weekend as well.
I don't think Ivan Toney's alone in that sort of attitude. I remember, didn't some text messages from Michael Elise come out when he was talking to he was courting a young woman? I think he said, I play for a shit team at the moment, but I won't be at Reading for long, lol. I'm going to the Premier League. Just think, well, okay, fair enough.
Glenn, how are we going to approach this one? Because I don't think it's going to be as bad as previous trips to Brentford, maybe. And I know Billy was saying there about that soft underbelly. We seem to have perhaps turned a corner, at least defensively. I know it's 2 goals we've conceded and they've both been mistakes. But we seem a bit more stable at the back. It's just going forward is the problem. So I don't think it's going to be a classic, is it? But how do you think we're going to approach this one?
Well, I think we've got to approach it differently to how we've approached the first 2 games, because otherwise it's definition of madness stuff, isn't it? I think we've all said if we set up. Martin said it earlier on. If we set up that way, we won't get a point against anybody. I don't think. We won't. We basically won't score a goal. So we have to change the way we're playing to provide some sort of threat to Brentford. Otherwise, we're just sitting there waiting, and they might score and they might not. But we've got to do more ourselves. We've got to try and at least make them think about us as some sort of threat. And otherwise, they can just sort of keep throwing players forward. It sounds like we may play into their hands because we'll obviously try and have a lot of possession, and then you've got the breakaways. If Forest had managed their breakaways correctly yesterday, they probably could have scored 3 or 4 goals. So we're going to have to be a little bit wary of that. And Russell Martin's got to get the balance right between negating the things that Brentford are good at, but also providing some sort of threat at the other end of the pitch. As Billy said, it's the Brentford defence is if there's any part of the team that could be said to be weaker, it's that, and you've got to get at it. You can't just let the likes of Visser and Mbermo do their thing, and because otherwise we'll just go out there and get beat again. And so I actually think if we get beat, it's not the end of the world. But if we get beat playing the same way that we have in the first 2 games, then it's not great. We've got to have a bit of a go in this game, and I expect us to do so, because I don't think Russell Martin's the type of manager to continually try something that just blatantly isn't working. And there seems to be enough sort of like decent people around him to make sure that that's not the case. That wasn't the case with Ralph Hasenhüttl, was it? Because he just did the same thing endlessly, even when it wasn't working. So I just hope we go about it slightly differently. I think we'll go with a back 4 rather than a back 5, and we'll try and take the game to Brentford a little bit more. And I'm expecting it to be a little bit more open than certainly from our point of view.
You're nodding, Martin. Do you agree there with Glenn? Do you think back 4 maybe a bit more open this one?
Yeah, I thought we looked better with the back 4 yesterday. I thought when Charlie Taylor came on, we looked so much more settled. It's like how he how he gets in the personnel he wants to get into that back four. What does he do with his captain, Jack Stephens? It was a big talking point afterwards when I was going around the fan base, because Taylor Harwood-Bellis and Jan Bednarek have been his trusted partnership at centre-back. So what does he do with Jack Stephens? Then he's got Yuki Tsugawa. For me, I'd probably go with an out-and-out right back and an out-and-out left back personally. And if he's going to do that, he's going to have to drop probably two bodies that played yesterday. I think they're going to be a hard team to beat, but I think he has to tweak it now. I think he needs to find creativity, and I'm not sure how he goes about doing that, because he needs the personnel to do it. He's got another week with his new signings that he's brought in last week. Will there be more bodies this week? Remains to be seen. But we need to find ways that we're going to hurt Brentford at the weekend, because it won't be an easy test. They'll be more physical than Nottingham Forest as well. I think it'd be a slightly sterner test, actually, to be fair. It won't be such a football inside. They really get amongst us. Again, they won't give us time on the ball neither. And for me, Adam Armstrong needs to find a goal really quickly. A lot of question marks around him in the fan base yesterday from what I felt. Magnificent season last season. The last two games, he found it really, really tough. I love him as a player. I think he's a top human being as well. But I really want him to find his first Premier League goal. We need our first goal. We need our first points, because an international break coming after this one. And I think it really ramps the pressure up if we don't get anything out of this game.
Yeah, there is that can he do it in the Premier League question that's going to be over his head until he scores. Before we get some score predictions, anything else, any other thoughts on Brentford and what's going to be potentially quite a tough game?
No, I think Martin made an interesting point, actually, in regards to if you do change to a 4, who's the personnel that he ultimately drops? And it wouldn't surprise me to see Taylor Harwood-Bellis come out and have Jack Stephens and Jan Bednarek start in the middle, and then have the two fullbacks, whether that's Charlie Taylor and Kyle, or whether it's Yuki and Kyle. But I just feel that Taylor's, I don't think he's enjoyed his performance that much in the last couple of games. I saw him having a bit of argy-bargy on the touchline with Russell at Newcastle.
He didn't look happy yesterday either, did he, when he came off?
He brought him off yesterday, and he deservedly brought him off out of the three centre-backs. And look, Taylor's obviously a brilliant player. He's a £20 million player for a reason. He's going to have a future. But I think if he's going to go to a 4, I just can't see him dropping Jack Stephens, who, by the way, whatever you think of Jack Stephens, I do think that the scapegoating now, it has gone to a mental level, because he's done nothing wrong in the last 2 games, in my opinion. And yet every comment I get is the only people that get blamed individually are Jack Stephens. And I know that he's probably technically the worst player in the team out of the starting 11, but he's by no means been at fault for anything. And he's a real leader. So I think the scapegoating's got a bit out of hand.
Yeah, I agree with Alfie on that. I totally agree. I think it's gone above and beyond now, really. But I've been surprised with Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Not quite looked the player that he looked last season. He just didn't.
Days, isn't it?
Yeah, he just didn't look like he was enjoying his football. It's just his body language didn't quite look the same. He's a brilliant player, and his range of passing sometimes from centre back is just outstanding. And he come good, no doubt about it. But yeah, I noticed what Alfie noticed yesterday as well, for sure.
All right, let's get some score predictions. Billy, I'm going to come to you first, and then we can let you get on and enjoy the rest of your break. Score prediction from you, please. What are you saying?
I think you guys are right in terms of it's probably. I think it's going to be lower scoring. I think that's just how Saints games have gone, and Brentford don't mind things being that way either. I'll say I'm going to go 2-1 Brentford. I think we'll just edge it. Interesting, just quickly, what Glen said about changing to the 4 at the back that we think may happen. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Russell Martin does, because Brentford's prowess is in our wingers, in Brian Mbeumo and Kevin Schade, and they're very, very quick. And now Crystal Palace played a 5-at-the-back system with wing backs against us, and it really was to their detriment, because Mbeumo and Schade stayed so high that the wing backs then had to stay back with them, and it really did turn into a back 5 for Crystal Palace. So, if I'm being honest, I do think going to a 4 may be the best solution for the Saints against us. And in terms of just getting at us quickly, in the defence, we've been without Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey, both of our fullbacks, who are both unbelievable fullbacks, for about a year now. Rico Henry's supposedly back after the international break, finally, which is just going to be amazing for Brentford, because I genuinely think if he wasn't injured, he'd have been in that World Cup squad, Euro squad side for England. He's unbelievable. But yeah, we're a team that basically plays with 4 centre halves in defence in the back 4, and we are very susceptible to balls in the channel. And I'm thinking that goal, Adam Armstrong's goal at Wembley, that is where Saints will get a Brentford. That ball, slipping it in between sort of the centre back and the full back, So it'd just be interesting to see with what Martin goes with. But yeah, if you're going to get at Brentford, that's the way you're going to get in between us to pull back those little pockets in the box.
So we're putting you down for a home win.
Yeah, home win.
Billy, that's been brilliant. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to us, and enjoy the rest of your weekend and safe home.
Yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Good having me.
Cheers, Billy. Alfie, it sounds like your predicted 11 might be a bit more difficult for Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be.
What about a score? What can I trouble you for?
Well, I mean, my effort on the weekend was absolutely dreadful. I went for a 3-2 win for Saints, and I could not have been further away from the truth. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win as well, I think, because he sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Okay, Glenn?
Just like I say that I was the only one who said it would be tight and low scoring last week, even though I got it wrong ultimately, because I said we win 1-0. This is a moral victory for me there. However, didn't get me any points on the in the prediction game. Before listening to Billy, I had us down as another 1-0 defeat. To be honest, 'cause again, I think low scoring. I don't think Brentford's game against Crystal Palace, they won it. Ultimately, they got a bit fortunate. It seemed, as they had that goal disallowed, which was ridiculous. Obviously, the free kick that was when the referee sort of imagined a foul on the edge of the box and blew his whistle too early, so VAR couldn't get involved. So I think they were slightly fortunate to get over the line against Palace. So. Yeah, I mean, they're playing Liverpool this afternoon, so that might shape opinion on things as well. But no, I think I can see us putting in a better performance, trying to be a little bit more open, but ultimately I think we'll fall short again and get beat 1-0. So yeah, I'll go with that. And he talks about the Adam Armstrong goal at Wembley, and it's not going to happen if he's out on the wing getting chalk on his boots, is it? So if we get a player in that position, it might help.
Martin, do you think we'll get the goal?
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna go with a draw. I'm gonna go with a score draw. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw. I think we get our first point with our first goal. I'm gonna have to go against the grain slightly, but yeah, hopefully we can get a point on the board before the international break. I think it will ease everything. I think if we go into the international break, like I said a minute ago, without anything, I think the meltdown will start a little bit. But I think we're 3 games in. We still need to remain. There's a long way to go yet. But yeah, there's just a few signs that we don't know. I think Russell will change it the weekend and we'll get a point on the board.
I will just say I'm bringing Brian and Buemo into my fantasy team. 100%.
We'll get on to the FPL later. If you are watching along on YouTube, don't forget to put your predictions in the comments. Out of our 72 patrons we've got in the predictions league, only 3 people got any points this week, Glenn. So you're in good company, don't worry. Shout out to Alex Sinfield, who was the only person to land a 3-pointer, and as a result of that, he's now top of the league. So well done.